To start off adding logarithms, we need to make sure that we have the same base. Since we have log base 4 and log base 4, we're allowed to add these together. And what we're going to do is multiply the two big numbers together. So this will become log 4 of 64, because 2 times 32 is 64. Now we just solve that. In other words, 4 to what power equals 64. It turns out 4 to the third is 64. So the answer to the problem is 3. When you try the next one on your own, you should get log base 5 of 15,625. And when you try to figure out 5 to what exponent equals 1525, you'll come up with 6. Now for the subtracting ones. Again, we have the same base, log base 2 and log base 2. So we're going to take the big numbers, the 32 and the 4. This time, instead of multiplying them, we are going to divide them. 32 divided by 4. Always do it in the order they give them to you. So the first one divided by the second one. So this is log base 2 of 32 divided by 4 is 8. So we have to figure out what power do you raise 2 to get 8? And the answer is 3. 2 to the third power equals 8. When you try the next one, we have log 7 and log 7. So we'll combine them and have log 7 of 49 divided by 7 is 7. And when we think about what power do you raise 7 to, so you can get 7 as your answer, the answer there is 1. Now for when we have exponents attached to the logs. See how this 2 is right here? What we're going to do, according to the property, is we're going to multiply by the 2 out front. So this will become 2, and then in parentheses, log 3 of 81. Now all we need to do is figure out what log 3 of 81 is. So 3 to what power gives us 81? And the answer is 4. So everything that I just underlined in red, that answer is 4, and we need to multiply it by that 2 that was out front. So 2 times 4 is 8. Final answer. Now I had students ask, couldn't you just figure out what 81 squared is and then do the problem that way? You could, but we do need to use this property of exponents in the future. And so when you see an exponent on a log, move it out front and multiply it by your final answer. So when you go to try the next one, that little 2, it's going to come out front. So we'll have 2 times the log base 5 of 25. So now we need to figure out what's inside the blue parentheses. What power do you raise 5 to and get 25 for your answer? The answer is 2. So we'll multiply it by the 2 out front, and our final answer is 4. These next problems will go pretty quick if you see inverses. See how the base is 8 and the answer is 8? What's going to happen is those two cancel each other out, and according to our exponent property, that 3x plus 1 would be multiplied out front, but since this answer was 1, it would just be 3x plus 1 times 1, which is 3x plus 1. So long story short, when we look at the next example, this is log base 10. It's not written because it's the common log, but since we have base 10 and 10, they cancel each other out, and the answer is 0.9. I'm going to jump to C, and then we'll come back to B. See this big 2 and that log base 2? They cancel each other out, and the answer is 27. On the next example, log 2, there and there, cancel each other out, and the answer is 8x. Now let's look at B. The issue with B is we have log base 5, but this number isn't 5. We want it to be 5, so let's figure out what do we have to raise 5 to, so those two match up, so that it still equals 125. Well, it turns out 5 to the third power is the same thing as 125. Now those 5s will cancel out, and our answer will be 3. We could have started that the normal way we think about it, 5 to what power gives us 125. We would have gotten 3. It's just another way to do the same thing we've been doing. So when you look at B, we see log base 4. That means that we want to be able to rewrite 16 as a power of 4. And we can do that because 4 to the second is 16. So now those 4's cancel out and our answer is 2, which we already should have known. We already should have known that 4 to the second power gives us 16. Last example, we need to figure out 4 to what power gives us 8. Oops, I meant to write an x. If we try to think about it, we could try 4 to the first, we'd get 4. We could try 4 to the second, we'd get 16. And unfortunately, the number we want is somewhere in between those two. So our exponent's not going to be 1, and it's not going to be 2, it's going to be somewhere in between those two. So we have a new rule that says you can take the common log, so log base 10, the one that you type on your calculator, of the answer, and divide it by log base 10 of the base. If you type in log 8 divided by log 4 on your calculator, I'm going to write it up here so you do it right. When you type the log button, a parenthesis will start. Type the 8 and then close the parenthesis. Then press the divide button and then log parenthesis 4. When you do that, you will get 1.5. Another way to do it in your calculator is to press the following buttons: Math, Alpha, the green alpha button, and then Math again. If you press those 3 buttons, you'll be able to just fill in the little itty-bitty boxes on your screen with the numbers you see. And when you try the next example, either using these 3 buttons or the way I just showed you, you will get 1.3 repeating for that answer. If you are going to type it in by dividing, make sure that you put the big number on top and you put the little number on bottom in the fraction. Good luck with your homework.